welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. Got a fun few We've got a fun few DIYs. Well, you get the gist. We've got some stuff to work on. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we will be working on DIY farmhouse inspired summer decor. So let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I got this sign from a Dollar Tree. So for part of it, I want to make some flip-flops, but these of course are way too big, but it's my inspiration. So I kind of traced one side, flipped it over and traced the other side to get the shape of the flip-flop. And then I start out here going about a 1/2 inch in and redrawing a new pattern line so I could cut that out, but decided that's still way too big. So I go in about another 1/2 inch. Here's the size I end up with. And then what I'm doing now is I've got some white cardstock here, and I'm just going to trace around the front and back of both of these pieces because I'm going to cover, of course, the front and back of this. And this is just cardboard I'm using. Did I mention that? I'm just using cardboard to make my little base for my flip-flops. And then now I'm tracing it onto some copy paper so that I could go in and make a new perimeter once again to have it for the patterned paper on my flip-flop. And I'm taking this to the sewing machine. I've decided to go with kind of a gray and white polka dot pattern, you know, because flip-flops usually kind of, well, some have that kind of white edge around the outside, and then the inside is pattern when you buy cute flip-flops. So again, of course, just sewing around the edges here on my pattern and paper and my white cardstock for this. I'm getting my words all jumbled up. But you know, whatever, we're going with it. Here's what it looks like all sewn and ready. And I do this sewing on all of my pieces. So here I am distressing my pieces, taking the open end of my scissor blade, scraping along the edges, and you get this cute little distress technique. And on the left here, you can see it on the flip-flop, and on the right without. So you can decide which, you know, thing that you like best. So now I'm just taking the pattern paper, gluing it to the white cardstock, and then taking the white cardstock and gluing it to our cardboard piece. And you can see I've got little dots drawn on here. I'm taking my Crop-A-Dile and I'm just punching holes on the 2 side dots. This is where we're going to make our cute little, you know, straps that go in our flip-flop. I got this kind of cording stuff here. Picked it up from Hobby Lobby. Kind of looks like really thin, fake, like leather or whatever you want to call that. I'm taking 2 of these per hole. I have to take a little needle to kind of punch the second one through. And then about a 1/2 inch on the back side, leave kind of hanging out the back, and then I will take one piece and glue it to the top dot I drew, and then I'll take the other one and glue it to the top of that other piece, and then I'll take both of these and pull them both again through that little hole, kind of like a triangular pattern. I've got some double stick tape here. I'm going to tape both of these down so it kind of makes it flat, as well as give us a little sticky once you pull it off. Add a little glue, and then we'll add our bottom piece of cardstock to the back, and then we have a cute little flip-flop. And I'll do that, of course, the same for both sides. I have these cute little wood hearts for my supply. I traced, you know, some paper and did a tiny little stitch down through the center of the heart, and we're going to cover that heart with this, and we're going to enter it right into the little, right there on both flip-flops. Super cute, and you can see they're tiny. You can see it against the size of my hand. So this is my board here. I picked up like $2 on clearance at Hobby Lobby, spray paint with flat white spray paint. And then I'm coming in with all my pieces, doing kind of a medium gray here. I cut my papers to fit each slat of the board because the boards are raised. They're multi-level on this sign. So I'm just kind of gluing these down first. And then I have 2 tones of aqua shades here that I will glue down as well off camera. It's ready to go. So now I have my quotes done in my Cricut Design space. I will leave the links down below to all the fonts that I'm using, and even if like the top font where it says Summer Rules, you can clearly see that's 2 different fonts, I will list it by words. So it will say like project number 1 summer is this specific font, which is Boshela, and Rules is this font, which is Baskervville. And then of course the other 2 I'll list down below, which is Didot and Bodini and Quindelia, something like that. I don't know how you say that one. Anyway, getting those on here, and of course removing my transfer tape. So those are on there all pretty. Summer Rules, soak up the sun. nap in the shade, and make memories. And I'm going to go ahead and add my flip-flops to the side down near the bottom, one on top of the other. And once I do that, this project is complete. So today's video is part of the third round of the Creative Champion Contest hosted by Heidi Sonboul. There are 4 women left in this competition, and only 2 will be remaining once the voting is complete to move into the last and final round 4. Here's a sneak peek of all the project entries we created and submitted for this contest. So if you want to check all those out, make sure you jump to Heidi's channel. The link will be in the description box, and you can see how exactly all these are made. And here are my finished entries for round 3. So for this particular project, I saw an idea on Pinterest years ago, and it was a cute little faucet on a board, and I'm like, I want to do that someday. And so I decided to do that for this project. Only I wanted it to look like, obviously it was watering, you know, the flowers in your garden, but I also wanted it to note that it was kind of like watering the love in your life, watering all the good memories and things like that. So that's why, and I wanted to put in my rustic feel for things as well as the farmhouse and kind of meld those two together. So this is kind of what I came up with, a little bit of my, you know, scrapbooking along with it, of course, and I hope you love it just as much as I do. So with this project, I have had a ladybug theme rolling around in my head for a while now, only I wanted to make like a gigantic ladybug. I wanted it to have lots of texture, I wanted it to be rustic, and I wanted to make it with like 98% Dollar Tree supplies, except for the pattern paper, of course. I think it turned out so super cute, lots of texture. I love, you know, ladybug kisses, summer wishes, and now is the time to be happy. I really hope you're happy with how this came out. And if you're just starting out at my video and you want to see how both of these projects were made, make sure you click on the link to Heidi's video and you'll see the entire start to finish process. With all that said, let's move on to project number 2. This project today, I'm using this Waverly Antique Wax watered down, and I think this is like a 10-inch or 12-inch circle from Home Depot. I've taped it off and I'm just brushing off on the first layer, and then once it dries I'll go in and do a second layer, so it kind of makes a nice little darker stain. And the bottom I was originally going to spray paint in this chalkboard paint, but I then changed my mind to just a flat black spray paint. These metal words came off of the signs that I used for my ladybug, and I've got 3 of them. I'm going to end up layering them all together so it's got a nice 3D thick look. Spray paint them all in flat white paint. While those are drying, I've got these flower cutouts that came in this package from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint front and back around the edges with this Waverly white chalk paint. And I've got some skewers here as well, 3 skewers. I'm just going to paint those up. And now I've cut out scrapbook paper. I've cut them all a little bit shy of the actual flowers, traced around the flowers, and then I went in about 1/8 of an inch and cut them a little bit short so that you see a little bit of that perimeter of the flower, because why spray paint it if you're not going to see a little bit of it, right? So I've got my 3 colors here working on my last flower, and the back are already covered with white cardstock. So they look all finished off. Here are my 3 words all spray painted nice and white. And I'm going in and just, of course, gluing all 3 together. So I, like I said, get that nice 3D textured look. And I've got my Cricut Design Space quotes going on here. The word market is done with Georgie, and then serving daily is done with Arial Round, and love is done with Glorial. And again, I will have all the links listed in the description box, or the fonts. All my fonts are from dafont.com. Free, just download free. Get that ready to go, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue on my family, just kind of overlapping that market a little bit, just to, you know, give it a little bit of design element. And then I'm coming in with my flowers. I've just kind of had my flower laid in the spot, so I just kind of picked it up to get the glue on it so it would go in the right spot. I've got 3 pieces of cardboard here on this one that I layered together so that my second flower can be raised up dimensionally over the top of that first flower. And in this next one, I've got 5 pieces of cardboard layered up so that that third flower will raise up right up against the other 2 flowers, of course. I've just got my twine kind of sitting where I want it. So my 3 skewers here, I'm going to glue them right in underneath. I'm going to kind of glue this little flower bouquet sideways so that it takes up that space. And then adding a little glue to the first skewer, so when I slide it under an overlap, each skewer will glue onto the other skewer, of course. Look really cute with a sideways bouquet. And then just some white twine I get from Walmart. I'm going to glue it right at the junction of those 3 skewers. And then I'm going to glue the tails exactly where I want them so that they stay curly and stay in place and don't just fall downward, of course. And of course trim off the excess. Perfect. Get that in there. I just love how this came out. I think it's cute, summery with the flowers. So I've got some wood handles here. I just kind of sanded them down a little bit. They had a shiny finish, using some Gorilla Glue here to glue these on. I didn't feel the need to like screw them in or anything because they, you know, this is just kind of something that can be hung on the wall or sitting on a table. It wasn't like you were going to pick it up by the handles, of course. And once I get these handles glued on, this project is complete. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Linda. I post all sorts of home decor DIYs from farmhouse to rustic to primitive, even a little bit of paper crafting. If you're liking what you're seeing here today, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on a single video from me. With that said, let's move on to our last project, number 3. For this project, I'm starting with this board I got from Goodwill, a couple more wood handles that I did Debbie's Design Diary DIY chalk paint in White Swan. And I'm also using about 20 of these tumbling tower block pieces and this sign from Dollar Tree. I'm going to pull off 3 of those kind of little label signs. I've also got a wood block here, just something that's already painted and ready to go. I'm going to be using 3 wood pieces here. 2 of them are already bought and then 2 I cut. And then I've got my papers already cut for my project here, and I've got 6 pieces of cardboard here, all but this one because I'm showing you I glued 2 of them together. I've got some red and white ribbon and twine here, and a dark brown and a really light brown felt, and 3 big sticks. Air dry clay I've used. Made 3 marshmallows. I made them and then I stuck the stick in them and I let it dry for 2 days. Of course, said 3 of them. May is National S'mores Month. I bet you didn't know that. And then I made kind of a flat looking marshmallow because we will make a s'more later. Now what we're doing here is I'm kind of making a s'mores smorgasbord. So kind of a tray with all the yummies to make your own s'mores. There's a lot of little pieces and stuff in here, but really, you know, the marshmallows made like I said, made that and let it set 2 days, and this entire project just took me a day to do. So what we're doing is kind of making our Hershey bars. Only, I don't know if I can say Hershey bars. So we're making our chocolate bars. So the board we're using is 2 1/4 inch in width, 5 1/2 inches long, and our paper is 6 inches wide, 7 inches long. If you don't want to do any sewing like I do, you're just going to, you know, cut those out. Wrap your cardstock, this is dark brown cardstock paper, wrap it around it just like, you know, you're wrapping a present. And then I take my ruler for the ends, once I get this glued closed, take my ruler here for the end, and I'm just going to kind of crease it right at the end of that cardboard. And again, I glued 2 pieces of cardboard together for each Hershey bar, chocolate bar. Not allowed to say the other one. Chocolate bar. I don't want to get in trouble. This is what it looks like if you're not going to sew it, and then a little strip just wide enough to fit those little ends of gray cardstock. And now I did my sewing, so I sewed it ahead of time. I kind of folded it around the cardboard, and then I took it off and sewed where I needed to in the center. Cut my little strips, sewed down the center. You know, all know how I like to do my sewing. So I'm wrapping that strip around each end of the bar there, and I've got some pinking shears here, and I'm just going to kind of pink the edges just to give it a cute little texture look. And again, I'll do 3 chocolate bars this way, just like that. Perfect. Now we're going to make a s'more and some graham crackers. So I have a dark brown felt, and this is light brown felt. I'm going to cut them. They're about a 2 by 2 inch size, and I end up cutting 7 of those. And in 1 piece of the dark chocolate felt, a little bit smaller, so like 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, just to fit 1 s'more. So we'll use 2 pieces of light brown felt for a s'more. The other 5 will just look like a stack of graham crackers when we're done. Got our little marshmallow we'll stick inside, and this is what it'll look like. We're not quite done with it yet. We'll set it aside. So I wanted to make the little air bubbles in our graham cracker. So, you know, I'm using brown thread here, and I'm just pulling it through. I pull from the back to the front with a stitch, and then right close to it, I go from the front and pull it to the back. So it kind of just makes little tiny little stitches, and as you pull it through, it kind of pulls in that felt a little bit and looks like a little air bubble, of course. And I'm only going to do this on 3 pieces, because our little stack of graham crackers that we're going to make for our smorgasbord, those, the way I'm going to stack them, is going to get covered up. So there's just the top one, you know, we'll need the little dot. So here's what it looks like. And then once I'm done, I'm going to take it to the back and kind of knot it off, cut off the excess. Now, if you don't want to do all this sewing stuff, you're not a sewer, little Sharpie marker, make your little dots and pretend. All right, set that aside. I'm going to drill some holes and add my little handles onto each side of my little smorgasbord tray here. And now I cut all my papers to fit the little slats on this board. If you didn't want to go this far, it's a little bit too intricate or too much work, you don't have to do that. You could cover the whole top. You could leave it just all painted. It's your choice. It's your design style, how you want it. But I like to add this little bit more rustic paper crafting feel to it. So I chose to kind of cover each little slat and one little spot on the front. Got my little labels here from that Dollar Tree sign. I'm just covering the front and back of those. The front I did double layer with kind of medium brown and light brown cardstock, and the back is just 1 layer with the brown cardstock. And then I'm going to cover all my little signs I did. The back is black cardstock, and the front has 2 layers of cardstock and or paper. A couple of these were already bought from the store, and then a couple of my wood pieces I cut, and then I just stained it with that Waverly wax paint. And I'm doing reds and blacks and browns on this little smorgasbord so that it kind of goes in with the color theme of my Jihujic ladybug. And so I'm using some of the tumbling tower block pieces, stacking them up and then gluing them to the back of our little label signs here, so our label signs will sit up. And then I'm using a couple of the other of the tumbling tower blocks, doubling them up again so that they will hold up our little wood pieces to look like little trays. And then I glued one of the signs to the front of one of the little trays. And then I'm going in and adding all my little quotes to our pieces. So of course that one says, "Let's get toasted," done in Will and Grace font. And then I'm going to label all my little label pieces in case you don't know which one's marshmallows, graham crackers, or chocolate. And this is done with the Crash Mountie fonts. Just adding them to all my little label holders here. I think this just turned out super cute. I don't know, the ladybug in this one kind of has my heart here on this on these creations here today. Just gonna put these on like this, and then I'll do the rest off camera. It takes a while to kind of get those transfer papers on. And now I named my chocolate bar Sweet Choco Bar because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say the name of you know what, so I didn't want to take that chance. So I just stacked 2 of the chocolate bars together. Of course, didn't label them, don't need to. And then I'm layering the third one right over the top, adding in some of that red and kind of tan plaid ribbon here, just tying it in a knot on the end. Add in our little bit of red color, trim off the excess. Lots of little pieces here today, but it all goes together really quickly. So I layered a couple pieces of those tumbling tower blocks on top of our little table there, laid down a piece of felt, and then glued 2 pieces of cardboard together and laid the felt on top of that. And I'm going to do that all the way through till I get to my top layer of graham cracker and glue that on top. The cardboard will kind of help, you know, make our stack of graham crackers look like more than what it is. Have a little sisal here. I'm gluing on one of the trays, and I'm going to go ahead and glue down my marshmallows onto the tray. One I put on a tumbling tower block so that it stands a little taller, and then the other 2 will just sit down lower on the table. And then I'm also gluing that little sign right in front of it so that that tray can kind of lean on it. Gluing down my graham cracker tray, and then changed views for you here, gluing down my chocolate sign and my chocolate bars right on top, adding a little more sisal down onto the board there. Here I come in with my marshmallows, gluing those down, and I did the same trim on those, the same ribbon as the chocolate bar, so it matched. Now we're going to glue our little s'more together. Add the dark brown onto the light brown felt, add our little air dry clay marshmallow, and then we'll go ahead and add the other light brown graham cracker on top, and that cute little s'more is done. We're going to glue the sign onto the front of our tray, and then I laid down some tumbling tower blocks there on the tray so that our little s'more sits up a little higher. And then I went ahead and added a little heart to the marshmallow sign, tucked one over by the s'more, and once I get this on there, this project is complete. So I really hope you enjoyed how this s'mores smorgasbord turned out. I think it is so stinking cute. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite today. Give this video a thumbs up, and remember, if you're not a subscriber and like what you saw today, hit that red subscribe button and notification bell. Also remember, today's video is part 3 of the 3rd round in the Creative Champion Contest hosted by Heidi Sonboul. The link to her video will be in the description box, so you can go check out all the other contestants' projects, and remember to vote. I appreciate all of your support. It has meant the world to me, your support and encouragement and your comments. I'm so behind in my comments. I'm reading everyone, and you are making my heart smile. I appreciate and hope that you will again vote me through so I can get to round 4. And before I end, I want to give you one final thought. We must have the courage to trust God. You don't know what path may lead to another, so trust God with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Have faith, knowing He will not leave you. You are blessed because you believe God will always do what He says. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.